Hey everybody, welcome to Big News Wednesday. Don't worry everyone, I know I too was a little bit worried that in these times where everything's shut down, that intro might not work, but we've still got that for now. We'll see, more and more stuff is going to have to be mothballed as the days go on because we're now into the shutdown and all of that. But you've still got me and we've still got Sharon Reed. Sharon, how's it going?
Doing great. I mean, if it does shut down the intro, we could hum it.
That would be
Couldn't
great.
we just hum it?
We'll see how long people will stick around for that. I'm glad that you haven't been furloughed yet.
Not
Thank
yet.
you for sticking around. I'm glad. That's awesome.
I'd be the
how are
first
you
to
doing?
go, though, just so you know.
No,
I
no
mean,
way.
Number one on the list. It's fine.
Yeah. Well, America isn't. Everything's just falling apart. Government's shutting down. Trump is to put mariachi music behind people. And apparently several million Americans are like, no, that's Yeah, that's what I wanted to do. I just, who cares what happens with the country, the economy? I want to see a mustache on Hakeem Jeffries. And by the way, look, I should be the target audience for making fun of Hakeem Jeff, but I feel like the stakes are a little bit too high in this particular case. In any event, we will indeed be talking about the government shutdown, trying to get an idea of how this might play out politically, how long it might last. We'll also have a little bit more reactions to Pete Hegseth as his attempt to give a big, strong boy speech in front of all the military people yesterday. And oh boy, did he think that he was cool. Not a lot of other people did, unfortunately for him. Ted Cruz goes to bat for pedophiles, I guess. People are saying it's a Freudian slip. Maybe. In any way, in any event, we'll talk about that and a whole lot more besides. We got a lot of AI on the show too. We'll be covering it. We're not AI or whatever. The AI has been furloughed, but we will be talking about it. And yet another big settlement between a major corporation and Donald Trump. So fun times ahead, everyone. With all that said, you ready to do this thing?
Yeah, if they keep paying him, he's never going to leave. I don't care what that calendar behind you, that countdown says.
No, we got to cut the checks. We've only got 780 left, everybody. Okay.
So gross.
By the way, I'm seeing Kijan says 10 Israeli boats are on the way to their flotilla. Everyone is on high alert. Great. There'll be some more. Here's what you need to do. You need to kidnap some more activists. That's how you reinvigorate the perception of your government. In any event, hit the like button, share the stream, and let's jump into this.
In my opinion, I hear the Democrats are going to be blamed and the Republicans are going to be blamed. I actually think the president would be blamed. If there is a shutdown, and it's not going to be a horrible shutdown because, as you know, things will sort of keep.
Well, there's a partial shutdown, right?
If there is a shutdown, I think it would be a tremendously negative mark on the president of the United States.
Well, the Democrats want to shut it down, so when you shut it down, you have to do layoffs. So we'd be laying off a lot of people that are going to be very affected, and they're Democrats. They're going to be Democrats. As you know, this country, no country can afford to pay for illegal immigration, health care for everybody that comes into the country, and that's what they're insisting. A lot of good can come down from shutdowns. We can get rid of a lot of things that we didn't want, and they'd be Democrat things, but they want open borders. They want men playing in women's sports. They want transgender for everybody. They never stop, and they don't learn. We won an election in a landslide. They just don't learn.
Dear God, he was right in the last part. Apparently nobody learns because he's still in office despite that being the way he speaks. Now, you saw in that first clip, Donald Trump saying, well, if the president couldn't get a deal going, I guess it's the president's fault. I have a feeling he probably doesn't agree with that anymore as the government shuts down today. Although you could probably tell from the rapid pace that he was speaking at that was a little while ago. So his opinion has certainly changed since then. His ability to concisely and quickly communicate his thoughts also has degraded a little bit from that point. It was 7 years ago, by the way, and you can see how much he has slowed down over those 7 years. So obviously, forget all of what he said. It's not the president's fault anymore. It's those damn pesky Democrats who simultaneously have been totally beaten and woke is dead and they've got nothing, and yet they're also responsible for everything that happens. And so we're in a shutdown. And the government has launched this website. You can take a look at this here, and let's see if we can figure out who's responsible. Okay, so it says at the top in a little ticker, Democrat shutdown, Democrats in their own words. Then it says Democrats have shut down the government. Then it says Democrats have shut down the government. Then it says Americans don't agree with Democrats' actions. So it's subtle, but I think he's blaming the Democrats for that. The issue, of course, is that the president is a Republican, the Senate is Republican, the House is Republican. You guys have it all. I mean, I feel like you could probably cut a deal. Now, they're trying to get out in front of that responsibility by implying we can't have a deal because the Democrats want transgender for everyone. And literally nobody in America knows what that means. He keeps saying it. It gets Republicans fired up, although again, they don't know what that means. Nobody has ever been transgendered against their will. It's difficult to imagine how that would even work. And the policy-based cover story, to the extent that any of their response to the shutdown is anything other than just identity politics about migrants or about transgender people, it's that they want health insurance for illegals or whatever, which is not a thing. All the Democrats are saying is uncut the $1 trillion in Medicaid funds that you just cut. First of all, stop pretending that it's new funding. We literally had it 3 weeks ago, and it will go back. And undocumented migrants had no capacity or access to that funding before. They would have no new access to it now. They are just lying to you. And they're lying to you not only to avoid culpability for the shutdown, but also, again, to avoid responsibility for those cuts, which we told you then, it was as true then as it is now, are gonna result in millions of Republicans losing access to their health insurance. And what they're bargaining, and this is a version of the bargain that Republicans has used, is you will allow your benefits to be taken away so that migrants who can't access it don't access it. Like, you will go without so that people who never could have gotten it still can't get it. It seems insane. I don't know why that would work, but they've gotten in power multiple times on that sort of argument over and over and over again. And so everywhere you go on the internet now, it's the radical left in Congress shut down the government. First of all, what radical left? Madness. I would love it for the radical left to have shut down Congress. It didn't actually happen. Federal employees are told to brace for a shutdown and to blame Democrats. Trump is saying to all these agencies that not only are going to be shut down, that's what a shutdown is, but that he's saying, maybe I just cut a bunch of stuff I want to cut and it'll be Democrat stuff. So he's telling some people whose jobs he's gonna cut that it don't have to be cut. On your way out, could you please blame Hakeem Jeffries? That would be really nice of you if you could do that. And to those workers, I say, but please don't be suckers. You're about to be fired. At least, go out with like a stiff upper lip or something. But in any event, before we jump into our first discussion, polling is going to evolve over time as both the Democrats and Trump and the Republicans get out there and try to message around this, try to craft a narrative. But as of right now, going into it, NPR, which, apologies, Trump, does still exist. They did some polling and they said that currently it is the Republicans most likely to be given the responsibility for this. 38% say they would be responsible, 27% would say the Democrats, and then 31% say both. And it sort of makes sense when you think about it that the Republicans would be blamed more since, again, they're in charge of literally everything. So anyway, Sharon, I guess sort of expected last week that we would hit this. A deal was possible. Chuck Schumer had backed off in March the last time this was about to happen, but he didn't this time. We're in day one of the shutdown. Maybe eventually that will have to be switched over to tracking the shutdown. For now, though, what do you think?
Yeah, of course Schumer had to do it because they kicked his ass last time. The left saying you're useless here. Listen, I'm not here to disagree with polling, but here I go disagreeing with NPR's polling. I'm still happy they exist. I don't say it that way because the Democrats are so poor at messaging that even though the Republicans really run everything, and everything, including the Supreme Court, I still think the Democrats are going to be blamed for this. And of course, Donald Trump loves it when it's shut down because he really can exercise his best life as a dictator. He's already threatening to fire people. There's already injunctions. So buckle up. I mean, I just think time will tell, but my money is on the Democrats absolutely being blamed for all of this.
It's possible. I feel like in some of the, back under Biden, when we get close to a shutdown, I don't know that the Democrats necessarily ended up getting blamed, even though at that point they were in charge. I don't know. I know that everywhere I look, it's like there's a host on The View. There's people in Washington Post doing op-eds. Saul, it's a trap, Democrats. Don't step in his trap. But at this point, it's just all traps. What do you like? I'm sure I agree with you. He's probably gonna act even more like a dictator. But what was he doing anyway? What are any of us doing at this point? Just close your eyes and barrel forward. Just do anything. Don't even think about it beforehand. Especially because for Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, I don't trust what conclusions they would come to. Just do literally anything. Wiggle a little bit. Like I said, just demonstrate to people that Trump is not the only person who exerts action, who makes choices. Do something. And no, I don't want Chuck Schumer or Hakeem Jeffries being the ones that are messaging around this, but hopefully it won't just be them. Hopefully they'll send out Jasmine Crockett. Hopefully AOC, we're gonna get to her in a little bit, can do something. I don't know, let's just see, because if anything, maybe it makes it harder for him to advance some of his other things that he would like to be spending the time on. I don't know. There is the risk that it distracts a little bit from Jeffrey Epstein. Again, I don't know. But we need to switch something up because these last few months have been absolutely devastating. Maybe this shuts down a little bit of his capacity to invade American cities over the next month or two. I don't know. We need something new, man, because the status quo was not working. In any event, let's move on to our next section. AOC went on MSNBC where she pointed out that Trump has basically, at this point, no surprise to you, unchecked power. But regardless, he's still pretty weak personally. Take a look.
We can do things during the shutdown.
I think there's two things that are happening at once, and this is something that's very important for people to understand. One, there absolutely is an unprecedented abuse of power, destruction of norms, erosion of our government and our democracy in order to prop up an authoritarian style of governance. That is happening. However, they are weaker than they look. And it is important that we remember that because what they rely on is the impression of power, the perception of inevitability, in us giving up in advance. At the end of the day, Donald Trump is at record levels of unpopularity in his tenure. The Republican House is at record levels of unpopularity. They are underwater across the board, and they know it. And that is causing them to double down in public, but it is backfiring.
Yeah, it's, I think, important to point that out. That's something that we had been talking about over the last couple of weeks. And it's easy, we do the reporting and then, you see Trump do some wild stuff, threaten to murder people in Portland or something. And then you forget, oh yeah, no, people have very much turned against this presidency on every topic, the economy, wildly, inflation, but also things like crime and immigration. And it's important that she reminds people of that. A lot is happening. Doesn't mean that it's popular. And look, there is the chance that, oh, this does turn out to be a trap or whatever. And somehow Donald Trump ends up looking responsible during this government shutdown. I don't think so. And in particular for the people who are pointing out that it's a trap, like Alyssa Farah Griffin on The View, who are like, he's gonna have, I don't know, less checks on his power. Whatever. First of all, he never respected any of the ones that he did. Those actions he's taking are what are making him so deeply unpopular at a record pace. And so, I don't know, maybe he'll just speed up the process right now. But if we can quickly go to some of these polls available from or being provided by the New York Times, you see him really, really underwater. Like on some of these things, he's improved a little bit. Like looks like the economy, he's now only under by -9. But on some, managing the federal government, he's now more underwater. I can't imagine a months-long government shutdown is really going to help his numbers in that. A lot of this stuff is sort of static. I mean, immigration, he's down a couple more points on it. But look, he needs to demonstrate power, authority. That's sort of the aura that he's always tried to give himself, even before he went into politics. He tries to pitch himself as a negotiator. He was unable to get a deal. And coming out of his attempt at a deal, he just posted those like deep fake videos. And for some MAGA trolls, that reassures them like, oh, he's joking again. But others wanted to believe that he could make a deal and he can't. Other people right now believe that he could run the federal government and he's demonstrating that he can't. And so again, I'm glad that AOC is one of the people out messaging about this. We need a multi-pronged thing in terms of that messaging. In any event, before we jump into our discussion of that, I want to give you just a little bit more of a question that she got on that show about where she might potentially be able to be a bigger part of these sorts of narrative building going forward if she were to challenge Chuck Schumer. So take a look.
Let me ask you this. There are some people I have seen who have the following theory of why Senate Democrats have not cut a deal where they give 8 votes and move along. And that is that Chuck Schumer is worried about a primary challenge from you and is worried about the politics to his left flank. And so because of that worry about a primary challenge, he's going to shut down the government. Ergo, it is AOC's fault that the government's shutting down, or that you're somehow the kind of fulcrum of this. And I want to just ask you straight up, like, are you planning to primary challenge him? Do you think that's why he's doing this?
This is so not about me. in this moment. This is about people being able to insure their children. And I will say, because I saw some senators speculating about this, and I saw some Republican members of Congress saying, oh, well, if we have this shutdown, it's because of AOC. Well, if that's the case, my office is open and you are free to walk in and negotiate with me directly.
By the way, she also pointed out on social media that yesterday, in the waning hours of a chance to stop the government from shutting down, the Democrats showed up. She was there. They were ready to do something. The Republicans didn't even show up. Again, they're implying that it's the Democrats' fault. They didn't even try to keep the government open. Now, I think that response she gave, Sharon, is the sort of thing you're supposed to say. It's responsible or whatever. That it's not about her. It's about ensuring your kids. But I think that his evaluation, Hayes right there, of why Chuck Schumer might be fighting a little bit more than he would have before, I think that that's a pretty accurate read. It seems like, I don't think that's insane to say that he's feeling that pressure. And so, I don't know, even before AOC's actually challenged him, she's perhaps done some good, getting him to at least pretend to have a backbone. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable assessment. I mean, he's doing everything in his power except not taking more money from AIPAC to remain right where he is. But to be honest with you, it's not her fault. Blame Chuck Schumer if that's what you want to do, when it's really the Republicans' fault. They had to get home for supper, so they weren't about to stay in town. But I am tired of this narrative. She is a great young leader. She is a powerful speaker. She's wildly intelligent, and we need her. So it's time to take over the party. I want her to stop being, and I'm not going to say she's so respectful because she knows how to get after it. You've been to her rallies, but it's time. It is her time. You're not a king either, Chuck Schumer, and I'm tired of waiting on you to vacate. Get him out of there. Just get him out of there. Just because, or because of all the reasons of the past 30 years. He's got to go. Come on, AOC.
Yeah, I think that, look, if he had, blinked once again, that would be a great reason for her to primary him. He didn't. So she should primary him for all of the other reasons he's provided. And thank him for standing strong right now as you file the paperwork to challenge him, which you should totally do. Unless you're gonna run for president, and we can have that debate as we've been having. Anyway, before we end on this section, I just want to go to some of the other polling. This is about what Democrats think about their leadership in these crucial times. Take a look.
Their base thinks that their party leaders are weak. Look at this. Democrats on who has strong leaders. Look at this. 54% say neither party, 54% of Democrats say neither party has strong leaders. Among Republicans, 80% of their base thinks Republicans have strong leaders. Yet among Democrats, just 35% of Democrats say their party has strong leaders. When you add together this 54% with this 11%, we're talking about 2/3 of Democrats who say neither party or Republicans have stronger leaders, as compared to just 35% who say their own parties have strong leaders. As I said at the top, weak is how Democrats view their leaders in Washington.
Yeah, and I think that that's a pretty good read. It's amazing, by the way, that 11% of the Democrats are like the Republicans have strong leaders. I mean, I guess they seem kind of like unabashed as they submit to Donald Trump over and over again. I don't think you can logically have strong leaders when there's no leading going on. They're just doing whatever Donald Trump tells them to do. You'll notice the Epstein files have not been released yet. So I have an issue with that, but only like 1 in 3 Democrats actually think that the Democrats have strong leadership, and that you're always gonna have that like 30%. I don't know what shows they're watching, where they're getting the news that they think that the Democrats have strong leadership, or by the way, have had strong leadership in most of my lifetime. But in any event, it is very clear people want to see a change in leadership. It's gotta be somebody. And by the way, a lot of people are like, should AOC primary Schumer or should we still have Schumer? AOC might not primary Schumer. And you know what should happen in that case? Somebody else should primary Schumer. I don't know exactly who. I don't know, is Emma Vigeland available in the next couple of years or something? But somebody, there's gotta be some other good progressives in that area. We can't be left with Schumer for the rest of our lives. In any event, why don't we turn now to that strong Republican leadership on the other side and talk about this. After Trump posted his racist AI slop video of Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, he did what a child would do and just do the exact same thing again. So Hakeem Jeffries goes on the news, he's asked about it. And so then Trump, or some right-wing incel that likes Trump or whatever, took that interview and then did the sombrero and mustache thing again, and then put Trump playing music as if Trump would have any musical ability in his life. And you see, he got him. He got him because he's got a mustache again. Trump wasn't able to get a deal to continue the funding of the government. He did nothing except, hey, posted a meme. MAGA, is this good? Is this helping your family? Is this helping your business? You think you're gonna be able to own a home? How many mustaches would Trump have to put on Hakeem Jeffries for your kids to be able to go to college? That's a thinker for you. In any event, Mike Johnson would have you believe that he's a more responsible Republican. And so he was asked by a Democrat, Madeline Dean, about that first AI slop video. And here is what he was filmed saying about it.
How about the tweet last night with Hakeem and Schumer?
I think it wasn't my style. It's
not your style. It's disgraceful. It's bigoted. It's racist. You should call it out. Is it racist? You put a sombrero on a black man who's the leader of the House? You don't see that as racist? We need you desperately to leave.
I'm working. And personally, it's not personal. I love you and I respect you. Okay, we're
That's why I'm talking to you. That's why.
Yeah, I love you and I respect you. I mean, not enough to be honest with you. And it's not my style, except Mike, it is. It is your style. You didn't post the video, but you're also like, we literally have to tape you in a hallway being like, well, it's not exactly what I would do. And that's the strongest opposition you have to it. This is what the 100th insane racist thing that Donald Trump has done, and you've been silent about it. And bring him on the news tonight and ask him, and he'll be like, "Well, this is why people wanted Donald Trump, because he's authentic. He shoots from the hip or whatever." It's your style, okay? You didn't press enter on the tweet, but you bowed down and licked Donald Trump's feet as he sent it. That's who you are. Is it racist? Is it racist? I mean, yeah, they put a sombrero on him and a mustache. There's mariachi music, and you have Chuck Schumer talking about how they're gonna dupe dumb Latinos into vote for them until they learn how to speak English or something. But is it racist? I mean, I don't know. Who am I to say? And by the way, Mike Johnson was brought on the news to talk about a more substantive thing that Donald Trump had said when he said yesterday in his Quantico speech that we should be using American cities as training grounds for the US military. And Mike Johnson just kept saying, well, you're probably taking him out of context. That's not really what he was saying. No, that's exactly what he was saying. Mike Johnson is just furniture in the government. He doesn't need to have a brain or a spine, a working circulatory system. He is utterly irrelevant to what is happening. If Donald Trump declared today, no, we're done with America, we are just the Christian nationalist fascist republic of formerly America or whatever, Mike Johnson would do absolutely nothing to stop it. This is your style because you have utterly submitted to the guy who it's his entire thing. And this is what we're getting. We don't have responsible leadership. We don't have adults in the White House. Trump posted this on Twitter. So they have Hakeem Jeffries, they have Chuck Schumer, and they bring out Trump 2028 hats. You get it? Because the Constitution is garbage. It's toilet paper, and he's just gonna run for office until he finally dies. And then he points at Hakeem Jeffries. That, by the way, is the entire tweet. There's no text or anything. It's just a photo from a meeting where Donald Trump was unable to get a deal because rather than like talking seriously about Medicaid funding, he talks about transgender for everybody or something. And so that was a waste of time, but he pointed. And so they took a photo, and 26,000 MAGA people liked it because I don't know why, what, you didn't get the deal. The government's shutting down. Trump is failing. But he put up a photo and you're like, yes, I like that photo. Why? Do you like the hat? You like the idea of a president for life? Sharon, I do not understand why these, is it just bots? Is the cult just that strong?
I wish it were.
There's no failure humiliating enough to get through to these people.
No, and listen, he didn't want a deal, okay? He agreed to the meeting after not even reading their stupid letter because someone said have it. Then he said no before he tripped up the escalator situation or his staffers pressed a button or something at the UN. He doesn't want a deal. The only reason they were in the office was because of the hats and the picture to do some tomfoolery. So it's a great meeting if you're a butthead, and that's what he is and what he's intending. I just had this discussion with my Republican friend last night. The Republican Party doesn't exist anymore nationally. You have to, MAGA does, but there's no such thing as the Republican Party. In fact, it doesn't exist in most states. It exists here in Georgia. I could argue with you that it does not exist in Florida and Texas because they just capitulate and do whatever MAGA demands. So it's dead. So they should probably stop calling it that. Of course, there's not a leader. Mike Johnson's just sitting in the role and collecting the check, because that's what the carve out is for that role. But of course, he's not a leader. They gave him the answers before the test, and he couldn't even get it right. Yeah, it's racist. What's that? I mean, it's just stupid.
Yeah, look, I see people in the chat are like, you don't get messaging or whatever. They like him. Yeah, but why? Is it because like they have different expectations and he met them or whatever? No, it's just because they have no expectations. That's it. Donald Trump, okay, let's say that you think of it differently than I do. It's not that Donald Trump wanted to fund the government, but if you're just like an a-hole MAGA person, what was Trump's goal there? It was to make Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer submit to him. It was to defeat them, to beat them, to make them back down. And he failed. He didn't do that. They didn't back down. They backed down in March. So now he used to be able to do it, but now he can't. Now he can't make them back down. Is it because his polling is so much worse? Is it because the economy is failing and they think that, the Democrats are going to do really good, well in the midterm? Like, it doesn't matter why. He wasn't able to defeat his enemies, but he did a picture. Yeah, but like, don't you want to win? Don't you want to own the lit? Like, you're on Twitter, you're just on a social media site for white supremacists liking a photo of Donald Trump pointing at the camera. That's your stand-in for victory? That's your stand-in for breaking the backs of the liberals or whatever? Man, your expectations are falling really fast. I mean, I don't have any expectations for America, but I feel like you have even less at this point. In any event, this is day one. We're gonna see how many big news Wednesdays are we gonna get out of this shutdown. By the way, Chuck Schumer could cave. Like, they could do it today. I don't know. We'll find out. We're gonna take a break though. Lots more to get to after this. I just want a couple people who actually like give a damn about the world in positions of power. People who are responsible, people who are actually authentic, people who care, people who understand anything. And not just people who think that literally everything is a podcast that they're recording. Like, it's easy to point to like TikTok and be like, oh, these damn influencers and everything, but that is such a smaller problem than the influentialization of politics, where it's all just brand building. It's all just stupid AI slop memes and all of that. There's real stuff happening. There are real stakes, and Donald Trump does not give a damn about it. You see a lot of gold in that photo. A lot of the finest 24 karat gold. You might lose your jobs. You might lose your home, but Donald Trump's got the finest gold. Anyway, okay, let's jump to some comments. Dragon Dancer, thank you for gifting a membership. Super nice of you. CD Northstock Dad gifted a membership too. Thank you. Chevy C Bob Evie, member for 18 months. I apologize. Like, I think I'm getting over my sickness, but my throat is still a little bit off. Says, I'm a Fed employee. We got an email that says he supports the CR, but Dems are blocking the CR in the Senate due to unrelated policy demands. Well, yeah. When you have a potential, this is actually kind of a problem for me right now. When you have a government shutdown looming, you can do what is called a clean CR. You just continue the funding at the current levels to allow the government to continue going. But what the other side always does is use the leverage they have to get something. And the other side says that it's unrelated. Again, it's literally government funding. It's related to that extent. But yeah, no, they're going to be trying to browbeat federal employees. But I think that if you literally work for the federal government, you understand enough about what's going on politically to know the sides and what they're working for here. Okay, Aaron says the irony is that if Democrats would help the right wing, would blame the Democrats for the cuts. Yeah, I mean, effectively, like they're going to campaign on, oh man, a lot of people don't have health insurance or whatever, when they're the ones that actually cut it. In the same way, by the way, that they, they'll vote against funding bills like they did under Joe Biden. And then once the funding goes to their district, they're like championing it. Lauren Boebert did that. A lot of them do that. They're utterly duplicitous people. A Grouchy Dragon, thank you for sending a membership. I do appreciate that. Alexis Merrill Dragon Queen, member for 54 months, says, hi, John and Sharon. John, it was nice to meet you and Francesca a few months ago. It must have been at the show that we did. Today's my 40th birthday. Please wish me a happy birthday. Love you guys. Happy birthday. I hope that it's a good one. Lisa Dodson sent a membership too. Thank you. Fascist Killer says, I'm surprised when he came to Chuck Schumer, he didn't put a Palestinian flag on with a watermelon head. Yeah, no, there's lots of other racist directions that they can go with this thing. Again, yeah, this is the guy. Hey, Mike Johnson, is it your style to declare that Chuck Schumer, a Jewish man, has become a Palestinian? He's a Palestinian now because he doesn't want children to be slaughtered. Kind of. I don't even know how strong he is against it, but like he sort of is against it a little. So he's now a Palestinian. You know how when you just declare someone to be of a different ethnic group as an insult? Is that your style, Mike Johnson? Gamma Ray Dragon, member for 41 months, says the disgusting tweets are accidentally part of the mission. They distract from the real damage of dismantling the fabric of our society. Sure, I'm so sure for some people they are. We do a 90-minute show. We can cover both the tweets and the dismantling. Don't you worry. Okay, we'll be right back. Okay, everybody, let's jump into some other news, starting with this.
If the Secretary of War can do regular hard PT.
Deep body challenge today, 50 pull-ups, 100 push-ups.
So can every member of our joint force. Frankly, it's tiring to look out at combat formations or really any formation and see fat troops.
Good Lord. So look, that was Pete Hegseth, and that speech sucked. You're familiar with that at this point. It was really long. It had a bunch of applause lines that didn't receive applause. It had a bunch of laugh lines that didn't receive laughs. He pitched his book, which nobody watching wanted to read. But in particular, the idea that like he's gonna browbeat people for not doing enough physical exercise when it looks like, I don't know, he got his advice on how to do a pull-up from ChatGPT. That seems a little bit funny. In any event, people like me have been mocking Donald Trump. Pete Hegseth, nobody's surprised by that. Fox News is usually less of a expected venue for that sort of criticism, but Hegseth's speech did receive criticism. I believe it was on the 5. Take a look.
Couple things, and I don't like differing with my pal DP either, but a couple things I do. First off,
brace yourself, America.
I tread carefully. I didn't like the televised part of this because it reminded me of something that might happen in China or North Korea. I didn't mind Secretary Hegseth, whom I know and consider a friend, doing what he did. But I have to say, if I were an adversary of the United States, and obviously I'm not, but if I was watching this, I'm not convinced that I would be more fearful of the United States, or for that matter, wanting to be more like them. Number 2, I don't like the Department of War moniker now. I think it should be called the Department of Deterrence.
Or maybe we could just stop renaming it. How about that? Could we go like a day or two where we're not renaming it? In any event, I agree with some of his other stuff. I think it's very strange that you would be like, yeah, he's my friend. I get it. We're all supposed to like, I was gonna say something really gross. I'm not going. We're gonna just I'll say fetishize the idea of bipartisanship and how important it is to be friends across the aisle or whatever. But Pete Hegseth is terrible. He is a genuinely terrible person doing terrible things, both in his personal life where he has been alleged to have done absolutely terrible things to women, and then also in his capacity as Secretary of Defense doing terrible things, endangering the lives and the physical safety of women in the military, and then going up there and browbeating people, being part of this speech where he and Trump are telling all of them to get on board with physically suppressing and perhaps killing American citizens in blue cities. This is not just like a stylistic disagreement we should be having, Harold Ford Jr. And I'm glad that he was critical of me, pointed out it was something you'd see in like China, North Korea, which yeah, to some extent it is. But the stakes are like literally life and death. I mean, these guys don't care about the law. They don't care about the Constitution. I'd get a little bit more worked up about it But anyway, Sharon, what do you think?
I do too. I think one of the worst things about him is that his mother wrote that letter, which really was talking about how disappointed she is, I still believe, is in him. I don't think his current job cures that. And yet he's emerged in the world and he's so proudly, mediocrity lives, boast. I mean, his white privilege knows no bounds. He's literally the worst unqualified ever, okay, to be nominated, to be thought about anything in this position. And yet he spends and wastes all this money, brings these real generals and leaders into that room and decides to lecture him about his dumb book that should have gone straight to paperback. He is a disgusting guy who believes he's actually the opposite. He believes he's like the greatest guy, even after a smackdown publicly, including his mommy.
Yeah. He did this thing where he did the line where he's like, well, for the enemies of America, FAFO. And then it was just like silent. Like he thought, like he was looking in the mirror in the back, like did a shot or whatever. And then he's like, yeah, and then everybody's gonna clap. They're gonna be like, hoorah, America. No, it's not. You're not tough. They do not respect you. They literally do not. Why would they? You're a TV host. You're not a serious guy. You don't respect them. You don't understand what they're doing. All of those people have served in the military for literally decades. They're watching this guy being like, all the military's done is be woke for years. And all of them are sitting there like, what the hell are you talking about? That has nothing to do with the military. There's no reason whatsoever to respect him. And I look forward to the fact that at least in a subtle way, behind the scenes, without making a big stink about it, many of those men and women will be working to undercut his agenda. That is my hope. To the extent that there's any kind of deep state, it should be the embedded expertise of our military, understanding that the people that are currently and temporarily in charge don't understand them, don't like them, and want to turn them against America as a concept. In any event, we're gonna close with one more. I'm not in the military, so maybe my opinion doesn't count as much. We're gonna end with a statement from a military officer who said, I mean, first of all, that's like an insane insult to his senior officers who all made their bones fighting in Iraq and Afghanistan. These guys, this is Elliot Ackerman. Those guys have a lot more dust on their boots than he does. Yeah, he, at worst case scenario, has some spilled whiskey on his boots or whatever. And man, the entire government, but in particular, the Department of Defense, which is literally what it is called. We're not playing games, it's not X. It's just DEI for drunk racists. That's all it is. DEI for lackeys, little henchmen for Donald Trump, little toadies or whatever. And for sexual predators, which I've also noticed that pattern quite a bit. In any event, we need to move on to our next topic. We're gonna lighten things up a little bit with a bit of a potential faux pas from Ted Cruz. Take a look.
Let's stop attacking pedophiles. We should have bipartisan agreement. How about we all come together and say, let's stop murders? How about we all come together and say, let's stop rape? How about we all come together and say, let's stop attacking pedophiles?
Oh no, Ted, you've done it again. So he was talking there about the need for bipartisan solutions to problems that, like, the second we propose them, he will not be on board. Just to be clear, like, I don't want murders. Let's make these guns, a little bit rare. No, he's not gonna do that. He's trying to like posture that he cares. He's talking about DC and the crime rate and everything. And somehow he gets on the pedophiles, which I feel like, look, it's easy to chalk this up to like he misspoke, but did he misspeak? Or is it that his brain took over for his tongue? Since Ted Cruz is, of course, one of those who's actively covering up the Epstein files. In any event, lots of people have been making fun of Ted Cruz. I mean, that's a constant. Recently, they've been making fun of that quote. This is perhaps the best version of it. This tweet from Eye of Bass released the pedophiles of him with his paint there. If you are not familiar with where that image comes from, it was Ted Cruz ran out in the wake of the killing of Charlie Kirk, and they found where someone had spray painted something mean about Charlie Kirk, or more likely, one of Ted Cruz's employees had spray painted something really mean about Charlie Kirk, so that Ted Cruz could like paint over it himself. He left the office and spent an entire afternoon of his government paying job to go and paint over that sort of thing. But again, as I said, Ted Cruz has voted against releasing the Epstein files. And so maybe he really does want us, Sharon, to lay off the pedophiles a little bit. I mean, they've been through so much already. What do you think?
I think he does. It would make his life a lot easier, and that's all he really cares about. And by the way, I didn't understand anything he said there. Can't you multitask? Can't we have a big pot of soup of nastiness, the murderers, the pedophiles, and the sexual assaulters, and everyone's in this big pot, and we stir it and we season it. I have a huge ability to multitask. I mean, look how my brain works. I'm here, I'm there, I'm everywhere. I mean, what is he even talking about? It's just ridiculous.
Look, it is difficult for them to like cosplay gravitas and like being a responsible politician because they don't mean it. They're trying to do a thing like they saw a speech on TV or whatever, but it's not them.
Head to Cancun.
It's not real. Exactly, and then head to Cancun or whatever. And meanwhile, support Donald Trump, who of course has been accused of assault by multiple women. Oh, big fan of Pete Hegseth again, accused of assault. The entire White House is just filled with men who've been accused of assault. And then posture as if you care about it, about stopping violent crime and all that, as you bow down to one violent criminal after another because they happen to have an R before their name. In any event, we're gonna take our second break of the hour. Lots more to get to after this. There's too many bad people, man. Oh, the ratio is going all wrong. It's going all wrong. I'm not saying there's supposed to be 50% good people and 50% bad people, okay? I'm not drunk, I know that's not true, but like there has to be 1 out of 10. I don't think there's 1 out of 10 right now. We've reached DEFCON 5 for bad people. It's just, they're just everywhere. It's they're in control of everything. They're not even just the politics. They own all the social media platforms. Literally every social media platform is owned by the worst person who has ever lived. All the media companies are owned by absolute walking garbage. We are surrounded by filth, by muck and scum. Rich, fancy muck. That's all America has at this point. Meanwhile, we've got AOC, Jasmine Crockett's pretty cool, and Zoran Mamdani seems to get it. Greta's off with the flotilla. And I really appreciated Nafisa Collier's comments about the commissioner of the WNBA yesterday. And then that's really it, man. That's the whole thing. That's all we got at this point. Bernie's good for the most part. And Jon Stewart. That's it. I've run through all of them. Anyway, Gamma Ray Dragon, thank you for your message. Member 41 months says the disgusting tweets are accidentally part of the oh no, sorry, I did read that one earlier. Thank you for your message. Gargoyle Dragon says the radical left shut down the government, spoiled your marriage, made you lose your hair, and is the real source of that smell in the White House, which I'm sure is never going to come out. Stickman Grit says, good luck deploying troops on cities when they're not getting paid. You think morale was bad before now, you ain't seen nothing yet. Well, it was already a problem before. Again, National Guard are not supposed to be deployed to some random city for months at a time. That's not how National Guard service is supposed to work. They're supposed to respond to like a particular emergency for a couple of days and then go home. But they're being treated as the even better armed version of Donald Trump's secret police, which is typically found in the form of ICE and Border Patrol and all that. But even that isn't enough for him. CK Progressive says, I wish we had a parliamentary government system. No funding means no government confidence, which triggers automatic elections in Congress. Sure, it'd cause chaos, but it's better than what we have now. Man, dude, we can't even get relative proportional representation in the Senate. We can't get ranked choice voting. We can't get an end to gerrymandering. We can't get the most basic crap. Lisa Dodson says, now, John, we know you love John Oliver. Yes, I do love John Oliver. He is very good. Although, I apologize, my throat is really starting to fall apart as we get towards the end of this first hour. One of the issues with like the good characters being people like John Oliver is, honestly, after like a big day of all the news, I don't even want to watch political media I like at that point. So I don't even get to absorb that good character because even that's too depressing at this point. Yes, Lisa Cook, Supreme Court temporarily ruled would be able to remain in her position. That is good news. We don't get a lot of good news, particularly out of the Supreme Court, but that is one little piece of good news. Also, and this is where you get to salty John, the Indiana Fever lost against the Aces yesterday and they're out of the WNBA playoffs. So that's the good news I'm gonna take. Some people may disagree, call me a hater, I don't know. Anyway, Salt Dragon Fan has been here for 62 months on Twitch, says, love the show, thanks for the continued honest coverage. Sharon is such a queen.
Who, me?
Yes, you are a queen.
I'll take it. Why not? We should all be
Yes.
royalty for a day.
That would be nice. That would be
Wouldn't
nice.
it?
Okay, everybody, just a little bit more time remaining in this first hour, so let's jump into this. Among the many other things he has done to make America worse and less secure, Donald Trump in less than 1 year has done grave harm to the scientific efforts to cure cancer. And he's done it for the dumbest reasons. So you probably know from our coverage of Doggy earlier this year and the big dumb bill that they cut a bunch of funding from medical research, in particular the research undergirding the federal government's efforts to look for cancer cures. They said these studies were woke. We got to get rid of them. Hundreds of millions of dollars being pulled away from cancer research because it's woke. And when he says that this research is woke, I looked into it and here's what he means. Nobody knows, he doesn't know. None of this makes any sense. But here's the fun thing about cancer research. Many of these studies are ongoing efforts for literally years. And when they're shut down, you can't just instantly restart them. A lot of that research is now worthless. And the efforts to find these drugs, develop these treatments, have been set back by at least years, if not more. In addition to that, he paused NIH, this National Institutes for Health grant making, for more than 2 months. He held up $1.5 billion in research funding there. He effectively halted clinical trials of new drugs, which, in his defense, had they gone through, they would have just been banned by RFK Jr. anyway. He laid off thousands of employees at the FDA, the NIH, and the CDC as well. He's also called for a 40% cut to the NIH's budget. And so, look, we're focusing here on cancer research, but I need you to understand that all medical research has been severely impacted by this. It's devastating, it's cruel, it's evil, it's self-destructive. And it hasn't been talked about nearly enough. But the good news today is that some money is gonna go back into the search for a cure for cancer. But unfortunately, it's going to be used in the dumbest possible way. And if you've been paying attention to American politics in this past year, you probably can guess where they're gonna put that money in. Yep, into AI. Now that we've fired all of the scientists, we're gonna use the AI that has been trained on their research, and that's the thing that's gonna cure cancer for us. So he signed an executive order on Tuesday directing his administration to invest $50 million in AI-driven pediatric cancer research. So I don't know, is that Grok? Is that Claude? Is that ChatGPT? I don't know, but I hope it cures cancer. I don't know what college Grok went to, but I hope it was a good one. Anyway, the order directs the presidentially appointed Make America Healthy Again Commission, which is mostly just banned drugs and vaccines, to work with the Office of Science and Technology Policy to harness data from a childhood cancer data initiative Trump established during his first term. Thankfully, that initiative has already generated research. It won't in the future because all that stuff has been killed, but we already have that to go on. And here is what the director of the OSTP says. Leveraging this data infrastructure, researchers will deploy artificial intelligence to improve clinical trials, sharpen diagnoses, fine-tune treatments, unlock cures, and strengthen prevention strategies. I don't know how they're gonna pay for these clinical trials since the funding has all been cut, but hopefully someone, maybe RFK Jr., Sharon, can go on ChatGPT and say, hey, how do you cure cancer? And hopefully they'll figure something out. What do you think?
He shouldn't come anywhere near this. We all want pediatric cancer to be a thing of the past, to never harm another child again. I mean, it's very painful. But the fact that they're talking about data and how useful the data and then this research will be when they've dismantled everything else and they discredit all other data this is just more monkey business. Anytime you tell this, obsolete Kennedy guy who swims in sewage and something about the animal, what was that, Central Park,
Yep,
he's not gonna make it better. He's going to make it worse. And he's actually, even if he doesn't lift one finger and infect one thing, just him being around the presence means you have to doubt it. It's just like sowing seeds of doubt just when he shows up for picture day. So I don't know what Donald Trump's doing here, but none of it makes any sense.
Yeah, here's what this entire story is. Trump just cut a check to big tech, handing them $50 million. That's it.
Yeah.
They donated $1 million to his inauguration, and now he gives them $50 million. It's a pretty good return on their investment, so kudos to them for their investment strategy. I've never gotten a 50 times return for an investment I've done. But other than that, nothing. It's not gonna cure anything. You know all those headlines that have come out over the past year about how AI has cured everything? No, because it can't. That's not how it works. AI, maybe I'm being premature. It's a bust, okay? It's not only not solving all of our problems, it's getting worse every day. All they can kind of hope that it might do is get some people fired. That's basically it. Aside from that, it's not coming up with any new laws of physics, any new medical cures or whatever. It's a big fat waste of time. Or by the way, let's say that you think I'm wrong and you wanted to have some funding going to AI, in addition to having people who've put their entire careers into these problems, then sure. But they're replacing billions of dollars of medical research with actual medical professionals with $50 million in AI. It's not gonna solve the problem. By the way,
what about med beds?
Yeah, well, that's gonna cost you even more. Hey, ChatGPT, how do I create a med bed? They also, by the way, they cut 18 billion, or they're holding $18 billion to New York because of DEI or whatever. Okay, so then President Buttigieg can see, okay, when Georgia pulls, like voting booths out of Atlanta, just cut Georgia's funding until they stop doing their racist policies. I mean, if you can just do this anytime you want, I guess that's how President AOC or President Gavin Newsom can do it next time around. In any event, let's move on to one more topic as we close out this first hour. One of the founders of Women for Trump had to backtrack really fast after she accidentally appeared to be criticizing Donald Trump on Twitter. See, Amy Kremer posted this: "The cost of living is out of control. If you don't grocery shop, you need to go to the grocery store and see for yourself. The prices are outrageous and continue to climb. I don't know how people are living. Families are struggling and can't afford to eat. Our elderly are hurting and too prideful to say anything." I don't really understand why she threw that in. Something has gotta give. So things are out of control, prices are too high. And in particular, she's saying, if you don't go to the grocery store, you should, which is a weird thing to say because everybody does, right? I mean, who doesn't? Well, billionaires don't. Donald Trump probably hasn't been. He thinks you have to give ID to buy groceries. So it seemed like she was criticizing Donald Trump. I mean, she's objectively criticizing the economy under Donald Trump. Or is she? Because as worried as she is about the economy, she's more worried about continuing to be in the good graces of MAGA. And so when she started getting criticized for criticizing Donald Trump, she backtracked and said, because some are too dense to get it, these are F Joe Biden prices. President Trump has done an amazing job in the 9 months he's been in the White House, but this is all because of the trillions spent under Biden and the sky-high inflation. If not for POTUS, it would be even worse. The tariffs are literally only because of Donald Trump, and Amy Kremer knows that. Is some of this due to years of supply chain issues and inflation and everything? Sure. But President Trump has been in charge for like 9 months at this point. If things not only haven't improved, but in fact are getting worse, like, could you just let us know when he's actually responsible? I get that it's not now, okay? Like December, is he responsible for next March, after the midterms? A day before the end of his term, is he ever gonna be responsible for what happens? Because you wanna give him credit for stuff, just not for the bad stuff, which seems strange to me. He has been president for 253 days. That is a mighty long honeymoon that they're giving him on this. In any event, I also just will throw out pointlessly, you know how they say the inflation is all because like during the pandemic, they just threw out a bunch of money in stimulus and everything, which to some extent is true. I hate that everybody pretends that the first 2 rounds of that weren't Trump. Why does everybody pretend that the stimulus was all Joe Biden? He continued it, but the first 2 rounds of it were under Trump. So again, pointless. America has decided that that's just not true. It's politically inconvenient. Sharon, what do you make of this?
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not even going to hit him with this, but it's also true that a lot of fraud. I mean, they had to roll it out so quickly, but there was a lot of PPP. Tom Brady even got one, not saying he was doing fraud, but I mean, it was craziness, okay? And the other part of it is, remember who made such a big deal about signing the checks himself? He even held up the checks. So I don't know why he doesn't, get credit for that. No one, no president, and you can even do the math, modern day, before that, just do some kind of mathematical configure. No one has spent more than Donald Trump. He's a runaway spender. He's not a Republican. He's just a guy who likes to spend and divert our money. That's what he's doing.
That is all he's doing. In any event, things are bad. And look, Amy Kramer, I'll end on this. She expressed an actual opinion, which she discovered is a mistake. Don't do that if you're a grifter online. But the issue for her is that while she can backtrack to still be loved and go to give speeches or whatever, she's right. Prices are too high. Groceries are too high. It's really rough for everybody. And I imagine if you were elderly, it's really rough on you. So she can backtrack and try to pretend that it's Joe Biden. And there will be some MAGA people who will keep telling themselves that. They will literally starve to death thinking that it's Joe Biden's fault or whatever. But a lot of other ones are gonna be like, well, Trump has been in charge for a year or 2 at this point by the time the midterms hit. And I feel like it's gonna take more than a little bit of tweet activity to get people to not assign the blame where it clearly deserves to be. Okay, with that said, that's the end of the first hour. Everybody, we've got some fun stuff coming up in the aftermath. Don't worry, we're gonna lighten things up a little bit. We'll see you in just a few. Hey everybody, it's the Aftermath. How's it going? I'm Iadarola. Sharon's here. Sharon, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's a good Wednesday. I mean, there's a lot going on, and then there's a lot not going on in DC. So yeah, I'm doing okay.
I was just watching a little clip. JD Vance is taking questions in the White House press briefing or whatever. And a reporter's like, Trump said that when the shutdown happens, we're gonna fire a bunch of people and they're gonna be Democrats. So you're gonna be targeting people based on politics? And JD Vance is like, no, we're not gonna be targeting people. And the reporter's like, but he said they'd be Democrats. And JD Vance will have to be like, well, but what you don't understand is I'm a responsible politician. I'm just gonna pretend that he didn't say. I'm so effing sick of these people.
Yeah.
And just like it is, the grating thing about this time is that every day, 75 things that Trump says or does that are direct assaults on every neuron in your brain. And then instantly, there's just the crowd of the crappiest fake men in America. We're like, well, no, I mean, but not really. But then what you don't understand, but woke is bad. And it's like, Jesus
Then they get mad at
Christ.
us too. Don't forget that. You guys, you guys are ridiculous. Grow up.
My God.
You know what he meant. Stop, will you?
At an
Stop
earlier
it.
time, there would have at least been some Republicans who, like, just purely based on ambition, would stand up to him or disagree with him. But that is the saddest thing about Trump and his cult, is that it still has enough of a grip that none of them can diverge. Man, I am just hoping. I know some people are saying like maybe once he's a lame duck, they'll have to start to posture for like what comes after. But I don't know. And honestly, I don't even think once he's in the ground, because a lot of MAGA people they're not gonna accept that he's dead. Let's just be very clear about that. And somebody in the Trump family, maybe Don Jr. or whatever, there'll be a new Q. They're gonna pretend to represent him even after he's dead. And I believe, will exert control over the party regardless. Anyway,
Can I just say one thing?
What's
and
that?
Just real quick. He was out of office for like, I don't know, 4 years. And there's this whole raid at Mar-a-Lago. He was in a Georgia courtroom. There's a mugshot. The billboard's still up here. And they still did whatever he said. So they'll never quit him. They can't quit him.
I do still want to see what that time is like, though. I want to skip ahead to that part because I'm sick of this one. In any event, let's jump into some more news. Conservatives are really, really entitled when it comes to media. They think that every single project needs to be specifically targeted at them, and they freak out when it's not. And they found a show, not a new show necessarily, to whine about on Netflix. It's a show, Dead End Paranormal Park. It's an animated series about a group of friends who fight off demons at a haunted theme park. And you're probably wondering, well, why is that bothering MAGA and conservatives? Well, there's a character on the show who identifies as transgender. And also, no, that's it. That's the whole thing. There is a transgender character. And so, cue the freak out. Libs of TikTok says, just canceled my Netflix account. We will not support a company who pushes transgenderism on kids and employs someone who celebrates murder. We'll get to that part. Post a screenshot below if you canceled yours. So what Raya Chai, I'm forgetting her name. Charik? What? I don't care. Whatever her name is. Raya Chaychik. Anyway, Chaya Raichik says is pushing transgenderism on kids is literally just, there's a transgender kid. They exist. Like, that's just true, Chaya. They exist. They're there. They're there here. They're 5 years ago in France. Like, they're just, some percentage of the population is and always has been trans. And if you acknowledge that, then you must be canceled, okay? They're not pushing anything. They're literally, there's no advocacy, there's existence. And that's enough to trigger these people. Libs of TikTok posted this. You will never guess who the creator of this show is. A they LGBTQ blue sky fan who mocked Charlie's murder and called him a Nazi. Is anyone surprised? So there's a lot there, to be clear. So he's literally still letting you call him he. How is that not enough for you? You don't have to call him they, you can call him he. That's a compromise. He's a blue sky fan. How dare he like a social media site? I don't. He should probably be sent to the gulag. Anyway, and so it's just freaking out. But in the thing that she retweeted of herself, She says, it's pushing pro-transgender on children. That's a direct quote. It's pushing pro-transgender on children. No, it's not pushing anything. And it's not pro-trans, like that's literally the same thing as me writing a book and having a white character and that being pushing pro-white on people. It's just existence. It's not advocacy again. And to that, you can see that Elon Musk, the owner of the platform, responds, he's a groomer. Because what the richest man in the world uses the platform he bought for is to basically accuse people he disagrees with of being a pedophile. That's just a thing he's always done. For some reason, he doesn't get any legal trouble of that. Making a direct accusation of pedophilia with no evidence. And by the way, I don't think we have this tweet, but I was on Twitter and I saw this. He goes on to retweet another one of Libs of TikTok's posts, because never forget that the richest man in the world just follows Chaya Raichik all day long on Twitter. And he just says, cancel Netflix. And Tommy Viator, who's been on the show, said, this guy went from calling himself a free speech absolutist to the most reactionary, whiny little cancel culture loving bitch on the internet. And it's true. And here's the kicker. The show's not even new. It's from years ago. It's done. There's no new episodes coming. They're just showing old episodes of this cartoon for kids that, as my producer pointed out, you don't have to watch. And if you don't want your kids to see it, don't put it on the TV. It's up to you. Don't you have parent rights? Isn't that a thing that Florida gave us or whatever? But no, because they have an old show where there is a trans person, Netflix should be canceled. The entire platform should be erased from existence, says free speech absolutist Elon Musk. I'm not getting any names right anymore. It's so pathetic, man. But this is what happens. They've just been ramping up. Like they've always wanted, like gay people can't have books. You gotta get those out of the library or whatever. Black people can't write books. You gotta get rid of those. And then, man, in the wake of the Charlie Kirk thing, they were all like, oh no, actually this cancel culture stuff is like the best. I love this. Let's do more of this. And so now it's 24/7 absolutist cancel culture if you acknowledge the existence of people that they don't like. What do you think?
Well, you're absolutely right. It's the same Republican friend. I've got to get another one. Last night was saying that he was arguing with a couple of liberals who he happened to be dining with because the woman was a single mom of a boy. And she allowed him to he wanted to play with some dolls. He saw her putting on makeup. He's just a little boy. And he was mimicking it. And that was a crime. And I can see the suggestion in the future that if you are a woman raising a little boy, that can't be allowed. Maybe there'll have to be check-ins, or maybe they'll just remove the child from you because you're causing them to become something that God did not intend.
Look, if that is a crime and it's a bad influence, particularly in front of kids, then I need all right-wingers to join me in boycotting Donald Trump and JD Vance because they shamelessly, no, I'll say it, whorishly slather their faces up with makeup every day and go out there where kids could see them. A full-grown man wearing eyeliner. Donald Trump, you've never seen Donald Trump's face. Do you realize that? You've just seen an inch-thick layer of cake on his face. But they can't watch a paranormal amusement park show or something. Again, it's just these people are so pathetic, and this is what they have. And I know that I say this a lot. I'll end with this. Raya Chayik was a kid at one point. She had parents, and her parents probably did what I do with my daughter. I look at her and think she could be anything. I don't know what, a lawyer, a doctor, a scientist, and they probably did that. And what she decided to be was just whine online about stuff she doesn't like. And that's literally it. A show exists that's not designed for me, so the company needs to go down. I found a random person on TikTok living a life that's different than mine. I need to ruin their life. That is the end state of all of what the parents gave her. And that is just a goddamn shame. Final thoughts?
It's a shame. You know what I was thinking as you were talking and saying all that? I wonder if they one day said to her, like I've said to my daughter before, what do you want to be when you grow up? My daughter said, I'm going to be a waitress, whatever. I think it's our job to support whatever as long as you're a good person is what I tell her. But I wonder if this woman's parents said, what do you want to be? And she said, I want to be a world-class hater. I want to grow up to be the best hater ever. And it worked out. If she said it, it worked out.
Maybe. Anyway, I just saw Muad'Dib says she could be a jock. Would John be okay with that? Well, I'm a jock. I think naturally she probably will be. The only question is for which sport.
Yeah.
Anyway, just so utterly pathetic. And again, as actually, our producers point out, MAGA has supposedly been done with Netflix like several times at this point. Like, you guys have to choose. Like, I don't know. Anyway, it just seems like there are boycotts on both sides of the aisle. Like, we do boycotts. I'm gonna end it one side. We do boycott. Like, but what are you doing the boycotts for? Like, if Chick-fil-A donates money to like politicians that are trying to strip away rights from gay people or something, like that kind of feels like a values thing. If Netflix has a show that has a person on it, I don't think that's as principled as you think it is. And stop calling stuff woke. Just say openly, there cannot be shows that have black people, women, gay people. I don't want to see it. I just want to see shirtless, muscular, straight white men. That's it. And they can talk and they can do muscular things, and that's all I ever want to see. Just admit that. Anyway, I'm moving on. We got 8 minutes. We'll be fine. Okay, let's talk about this. We're gonna talk about media actually some more. This is a media hour. Multiple actors as well as the Screen Actors Guild have come out against this bizarre PR stunt that you probably saw from earlier this week, where a synthetic actor named Tilly Norwood was rolled out as supposedly attracting the interest of multiple talent agencies. So it's just like, it's an AI cartoon or whatever that we're supposed to pretend is an actor, and we're supposed to believe it has talent agents. They're like, yeah, no, I want to rep this AI prompt or whatever. I want this slop to be in my stable as an agent. That's what we're supposed to believe. But thankfully, there's been a very strong pushback against this. You can see this tweet, a photo. It's an AI generated image of a thing that doesn't exist that looks like a conventionally attractive woman. That's all that is. And this AI thing has an Instagram account. It's just a cartoon. That's all it is. I mean, it's a high resolution cartoon. It's not a person, doesn't exist. Anyway, it says multiple talent agencies are reportedly interested in signing AI actress Tilly Norwood. Again, not an actress, not a person. Created by actress, comedian, and technologist Aline van der Velden through her AI company, which was apparently designed to destroy acting, comedy, art, basically. In response to growing criticism, she put out a statement saying, Tilly is not a replacement for a human being, but a creative work, a piece of art. Like many forms of art before her, she sparks conversation, and that in itself shows the power of creativity. Lots of creativity. I mean, she typed into a prompt for this person. I also love that, like, you want to pitch this person as an actress, and you're like, well, she's not like actually really an actress. She's just something to look at, which kind of seems like you're treating her the way Hollywood has generally treated actresses historically. So maybe there is actually some continuity here. In any event, a lot of people are pushing back against this, and I don't believe the talent agency stuff. I think this is just a PR stunt. I think like literally anybody can make an image of a woman and say it's an actress, and then generate some headlines by saying talent agencies, none of which I'm going to name, are interested. But regardless, they're pushing back. With SAG-AFTRA is saying creativity is and should remain human-centered, adding that they're opposed to the replacement of human performers by synthetics, basically by CGI, by a cartoon. That's all it is. It's not a robot, it's not a cyborg, it's just an image on a screen. To be clear, Tilly Norwood is not an actor. It's a character generated by a computer program that was trained on the work of countless professional performers without permission or compensation. It has no life experience to draw from, no emotion, and from what we've seen, audiences aren't interested in watching computer-generated content untethered from the human experience. It doesn't solve any problem. It creates the problem of using stolen performances to put actors out of work, jeopardizing performer livelihoods, and devaluing human artistry. Some actors have also come out. Melissa Barrera said, hope all actors repped by the agent that does this drop their ass. How gross, read the room. Natasha Leone said, any talent agency that engages in this should be boycotted by all guilds. Deeply misguided and totally disturbed. Not the way, not the vibe, not the use. And I agree. Finally, Chris McKenna, a television actor, pointed out that this sort of thing being used doesn't just replace an actor, it replaces hairstylists, makeup, wardrobe, lighting, direction, transportation, rest, or lunch. The trickle down will be devastating. The entire industry will be destroyed, again, by people who I guess wanted to be actors or comedians and couldn't do it. So now they're just trying to burn the entire thing down behind them, I guess. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I consider myself a guest in that world part-time.
You're an actress.
But it can be an issue, right? Because of voiceover and all kinds of little feeder things. I don't know if a talent agency was out there repping Miss Perfect AI, but I can see how she could quickly have a cult following, and so they've got to do something about this. At least go on the record. So they went on the record.
Yeah, look, if you want to animate something and have an actual human voice actor perform for it, you could do that. Cartoons and CGI have been around for a long time. That's not what they're trying to do. They're just trying to replace it all with something that some, like soulless, uncreative executive at some company can just type in a prompt and be like, "There's a movie" or whatever. And then they're gonna try to. And by the way, I've been saying that they would do this for years and years at this point. They're gonna create an Instagram account for it and like make up a fake life. It doesn't have a life. It doesn't exist. It doesn't go out. It doesn't have interests. It's not real. And sure, some men will follow this thing. You can get men to masturbate with looking at literally anything. That doesn't make it an actress, okay? Anyway.
But they have to do scandal too when they create a life. I mean, remember, actresses, they follow whoever they're dating, a little bit of scandal, that kind of thing.
They'll fake it. They'll fake it. I really hope that people go hard against this. Any movie that uses a person like this should be utterly boycotted.
Yeah.
Anyway, with that said, let's talk about one more thing to close out the show. YouTube is just the latest massive corporation that's decided to hand over a bunch of money to Donald Trump so that the federal government doesn't utterly crush them. In this case, giving him $24.5 million for preventing him from posting new videos to his YouTube channel after he inspired a riot that nearly overturned the results of an election and got our elected officials to be killed. So he wanted to be on the platform. You have no right necessarily to be on YouTube. It's a private company. This is not a First Amendment thing or whatever. He had no right to be on there. He pretended that he did. And as in all these cases, he would not have won an actual lawsuit, but he's now in power. And so he can force them to hand over money, and that's what they're doing. $22 million of the settlement will go to the nonprofit Trust for the National Mall. So to produce the Mar-a-Lago style ballroom that he's building at the White House, that's expected to cost $200 million. A further $2.5 million will go to other plaintiffs in the case, like the American Conservative Union and writer Naomi Wolf. The settlement doesn't mention attorney fees. So all of these people believe that they are entitled, despite violating the terms of service, advocating for violence or medical misinformation or whatever. They think I should be able to do that, and I'm owed a spot on YouTube. And now they're being given millions of dollars because the dear leader says that they should. And just to make clear that this has nothing to do with the merits of the lawsuit and just the ability of Donald Trump to use the federal government to benefit himself, here's what his lawyer said. If he had not been reelected, we would have been in court for 1,000 years. It was his reelection that made the difference. I feel like that's pretty clear. And by the way, all of this happens as, you guessed it, YouTube has other lingering business interests that the federal government could get involved in. In particular, Google is under pressure from the Justice Department to break up its ad business after a federal judge ruled this spring that the company has created a monopoly in advertising. And breaking up that monopoly could potentially hurt them a lot more than handing over $24.5 million to Trump, and then maybe he just calls off the entire thing. And it's not just them. Meta gave $25 million. Elon Musk gave $10 million. Some of this goes to things like the ballroom or libraries. The Musk money is just that directly goes to Trump. He just handed over $10 million. That is now Trump's money to spend on bronzer or whatever. Utter corruption. All of this is corruption. And Trump greeted the news, we can comment as we bring up this image, with yet more AI slop, which ironically is, even as we speak, ruining YouTube itself. So wonderful. Sharon, what do you think?
Yeah, and remember, there's the rest of us, right, who color outside the lines by mistake one time and violation, okay? And so they're giving this bully more money. And as I said at the top of the show, first hour, he's never gonna go anywhere. Why would he go anywhere? If you have a rabid, let's say raccoon or skunk, and you keep leaving little bits of, food and things, do you think that the skunk is going to go away? It's going to move in rent free. And that's what we're dealing with here. Stop feeding this skunk.
I love the imagery there, and I agree. And yeah, no, I don't think he ever willingly goes away. Hopefully, time and his diet does the work belatedly that needs to be done. We'll see.
Med beds.
Yeah, exactly. In any event, I bear in mind we're on YouTube. We're still gonna criticize them when they do something that's wrong, and I hate that they just gave in and handed over this money, this tyrant. It's not gonna save them, by the way. He's still going to, to hit you and try to get more money. Again, giving in has never helped any of these companies. They just apparently like to engage in some corruption. Anyway, that's all the time we have for the show. Sharon, as always, it's a pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much.
Pleasure's all mine. Appreciate it. And it was an eventful Wednesday.
Thank you. It was. Okay, everybody. Tomorrow is going to be either John Solo or my throat is going to continue to deteriorate, and we're going to have to come up with something else. But either way, I hope to see you there. For now, stay safe out there, stay sane out there, and we'll see you soon.